Life Books, the Canadian Council for the Arts, the League of Canadian Poets, Calgary Arts Development, the Writers Guild of Alberta, Inside Out Theatre, and then a shout out to Audrey, who's quietly sitting in the corner and filming the event so that it can get put onto Facebook. So the way the evening will go is we'll have 2 readers, and then we'll have an intermission, and then we'll come back and it'll be the Magpie readings. So we're going to start with Rob McLennan, who I had the honor of meeting tonight. Rob McLennan's most recent titles include On Beauty, Stories from the University of Alberta Press, 2024, the poetry collection World's End, ARP Books, 2023, a suite of pandemic essays, Essays in the Face of Uncertainties, Mansfield Press, 2022, and the anthology Groundworks, the best of the third decade of above ground press. Hello. 2013 to 2023, and that's by Invisible Publishing, 2023. His next poetry title, The Book of Sentences, is forthcoming with University of Calgary Press, a follow-up to the Book of Smaller, UC Press 2022. Do you want to come out? I've got one sentence left. The current Artistic Director of VERSeFest, Ottawa's International Poetry Festival. He spent the 2007-08 academic year in Edmonton as writer-in-residence, but he's much happier to be in Calgary.
Well, hello. So I brought a bunch of my quarterly poetry mag, Touch the Donkey, which I'm leaving for free distribution, handout if you will. I will leave them there. People can take them as they wish, or not. Hi. So, Book of Smaller, I am going to read from that. I'm not going to start with it, but I didn't launch it when UFC put it out. So, and I'm not even reading from my copy because I'm out. So this is a bookstore copy. So I don't know if they would be selling that for more or less.
Used.
Yes, exactly. Well, it depends how I treat it, right?
Gently used.
Gently used. Lived.
That's right.
A lot of mutter. What? A lot of muttering going on.
A would be there. Yeah.
Okay, shush. This is my short story collection on beauty from University of Alberta Press. I like to think of myself as an important connector to bring Calgary and Edmonton together. That I've published in both cities, as both universities. Although, as I was explaining to someone earlier, I learned a few years ago that when Saskatchewan was invented, the two cities said, "Well, no, we'll be capital. You take the university." And when Alberta was invented, one city said, "We're going to do both," and the other city said, "You guys are dicks." And that's pretty much been the history of Alberta. You're welcome. Book of short stories. They're good. I'm going to start with one. Silence. 1. I awoke from a dream of fire. In my dream, I was standing alone in our 2-bedroom condo, which morphed into a 3-story Victorian house. The flame was deep. The air sparked. White curtains shriveled. The pulse of my footprints burned into the hardwood. The fire surrounded me, feral, and grew. It concurrently curtsied, swung, screamed, running, jumped, bare-boned, and stood stock still. I woke, startled, a confusion of tenses. Bed sheets damp at my chest and my belly smelling of sweat musk. Asleep on my left side, I pushed slightly back, jostling against him just enough to hear him grumble, feel his slight shift of torso, make room. We settled, both of us, and melted, returned immediately to sleep. 2. I don't know anything about you. At 13 years old, she salvaged 3 books of matches her mother had abandoned on the kitchen counter. Each held a busty outline with neon lettering plucked from her father's laundry. From the back step, she caught the firefly of passing headlights sprinkled up from the highway through summer dark. The evening settled, inch by noticeable inch. She flicked matches, lit at the moon. The moon rose orange-pink. She did not know the name of it. She did not know that each moon had a name: pink, wolf, harvest, errant blue. The breeze stole the last of the matches and flung it mid-air into a stack of cardboard set resting against the house. Before she could recover it, flame began to devour. Cardboard refuse smoldering slow from the inside. It took, burning cardboard up against brick. She panicked. She stomped with her feet and massed the worst of it out and the rest in succession, ash floating free in small gusts, like black butterflies. 3. What is often most important is what is the most mundane. The jars beneath the kitchen sink, the coupons that created her stockpile, dish soap, laundry detergent, toothpaste, cereals, tissue and toilet paper, diapers, wipes, crackers, and salad dressings. This is what has kept us, she knows, what stretched them beyond her small incomes. It helped make them strong. Her father's only advice: never pay full price for anything. She clipped and saved, negotiating the spaces between the world, between commerce and income. Couponista, she called herself. It was more soothing, even impish, compared to what her husband had named her, crazy coupon lady. 4. I woke from a dream which was a dream of fire. My skin was warm and yet would not burn. I was hot metal naked, deep through the conflagration. Not a hair in my body was singed. In the mirror, I could see only what fire had left. It flickered deep inside me. I felt the flame harden blue, low in my abdomen, resting just on the bladder. The baby kicked, and I became agitated. I feared for my baby. Trapped inside with the fire, I clawed at my belly with hands and fingernails, finding little but blood. And then I stopped, realizing that the baby wasn't trapped inside with the fire. He was the fire. My skin froze. Water vapor rose from the surface, and I was afraid. 5. According to stories which Gilles de Montmorency Laval, Baron de Rais, caught first with a smell. It was May 1431, and he had arrived too late to save the maid Joan from her death at the stake. The skin blisters, bubbles, burns, skin blackens, fades, and crumbles. The sight of my old flame, a meaning that didn't emerge until far later, into the 1840s. Joan burning up into fable and legend, cremated, burned alive. De Rais arrived too late and spent subsequent years killing and burning the bodies of young boys and girls, releasing the scent of burnt flesh. He might have killed hundreds. He who has been falsely identified as a model for Bluebeard. He killed savagely. By recreating the loss, he'd also recreated the moment immediately preceding that loss, when a life with his near lover Joan was still possible. He burned. Is this love turned impossibly ugly, or a form of pure narcissism? Whatever might have been beautiful in him had been broken. 6. I don't think I'm afraid of my unborn child. A flutter evolved into a kick. The sensation is impossible to describe, but for what is obvious, the feeling of being struck from the inside. I dream cannibal dreams. Sometimes I'm ravenous, violently attacking everyone around me and feeding off the remains. Sometimes I'm the one being consumed from the inside. Like some dark version of Victorian consumption, a cough bleeding into white linen. To waste away in a sigh, the back of my right hand affixed to my forehead. I'm afraid of what I do not yet know. I'm afraid of fire. This soft, growing flesh within coincides with but one of those fears. Most days I am certain which one, but other days I am not. 7. It is not uncommon for pregnant women to dream of being devoured. Gina Davis in The Fly and her nightmare of giving birth to larvae, the result of her husband's terrible metamorphosis. They say to know a person is to read what they've written. I write in my journal daily. I wonder what it might say about me. There's a lonely teenage boy in every pop song. 8. The way you can see heat in the air outside, shimmer. My father, who once melted vinyl siding along one side of the homestead, unaware of the potential heat generated from the back of his barbecue. From my third-story vantage point, a sequence of neighborhood cats skulk about, each with its own shady purpose. I stand on a Saturday afternoon deck, while in the yard behind ours, small children scream and turn on their swing set. I'm learning to filter out everything. The Book of Smaller was written over about a year just before Christine went back to work after her second maternity leave. And then I was left home with a 1-year-old and a 3.5-year-old. So they're very small poems because it's all I had the attention for. And, you know, it was writing in parks or it wasn't writing. Like it was kind of, there was just, if someone napped for 45 minutes, that was my writing day. And then they woke up and like, well, I can start again tomorrow. February. All sunshine and whiteouts, exceptions, bit down, my CBC radio years, an age of mercy, sucker punch, this tablature, my pictured youth gifted, await my birth mother's silence, 14 below, yet we errand, the baby reacts, weather gusts, snow, nestled deep in my ring sling, her small face a grimace. Augustine of Hippo. Adele Barkley tweets, moths are just emo butterflies. I further practice texture, pressure, mouth, permission, turn that light around, this cold February sun, a love of truth that falls for any line, a breath inescapable, measured, a repeated rise, the year 597 when St. Augustine landed in Ramsgate, Kent, a millennia of wishes prior, my eyes are sore from reading, Ethelbert spoke, I want to believe. Chateau Montebello. A season of in-laws, etude, this weather of silence, of solstice, fireplace, hearth, linked rooms and listing, Christine and Rose wander, circumnavigate pool, hiking trails, Olympic pallor, we each parent, solo. In an overcast room, the baby sleeps, eventually. Still, curtains drawn, shuttered, ellipses, dash, outstretched, particular, wintered, I'm colorless, dark, such silence flurries, a poem unfurls, the sum of these parts, the baby snores, one word against thousands, the rest of the family afield, snow we measure in inches, the howling of sled dogs. 47th birthday. So this is written a while ago.
No.
I'm sorry, dear, I'm old. Strewn with reflection, we age, fall light linking stardust, Satori, a study of nucleotides, where sympathies lay or lay down, lie, I book, well read, these estimates numbered at the moment in which, paired with discouragement, apathy matters. I would rather stare at all the portraits in the world, coffee blind. Since I've no friends, I watch the stars, musty scent of these blueberries, smell the ink through the page. Words borrowed from Nelson Ball. Silence, yellow, speech, thaw, spring, clouds, poplars, once, walking, island, brown, rhetoric, poem, debris, words, breathe, matter, earth, air, orbit, Barbara, birds, water, orchard, forgotten, listen, broken, trees, opaque, still, cooler, dust, attention, briefly, scrape, looming, leaves, rolling, wood, smooth, frog, light. It's still winter. Recall what the nightingale sings, including myself, lip sewn to lip, skin like a cobra, a keyboard, an old rule of logic, tall tales, imperfection, not only the impulse. These are not studies, leaf and thistle. I'm feverish, I'm loving it. From birth, each movement ingrained, wind, wind, and no wind, these gestures of ancestry, debt of the garden branch, hollow, ill-tempered, beneath the snow, all that is buried. Map of the Niagara frontier. Fort George overrun, Thorold, Tweetstorm, 1812, begins the poem, a jargon of muskets, footfalls, soldiers, the village of Niagara burned, Youngstown, border crossings, ride it out, Tecumseh, Brock, the barricade, point to the horizon, defend, red barracks, testimonials, decide, redrove our sorry car, British, American, First Nations, the enemy is bored, boring, all that remains buried underneath the soil. I don't want to say I'm looking for the really good one, but I'm looking for like a particular one that I am very fond of, which is like a whole different thing than, you know, a determination of a particular kind of quality. I should have memorized this. Oh yes. Sentences my mother used. What should we have for dinner? What do you want for your birthday? What is your sister doing? Can you get me my pills? Is there anyone in the bathroom? Can you come in here? Whose truck is that? Where's your father? Can you take that out of the oven? Is the cat inside or out? Does the dog have food? Can you get this down for me? What are you doing in there? Get out of there. Those last two were not questions. And I'll end with Plenary Robert Crouch. So this was actually composed during a lecture on Crouch at the Crouch Symposium at the University of Ottawa. I don't remember what year. I don't need to know. I'll just read the poem. Drive, he said, the sweet salt mix of outlaws, friends. They bend, reverse, a measure. This, they say he wrote a book. Return to the beginning. The past is always there, his booming voice. Brief prologue prior to a single stretched unbroken sentence. Autobiography, which can be. To translate, formally, devotional. The multi-chambered heart. Blacktop, pavement, ends. The road not taken. Headlong, we scatter, wrapped. A dispatch veering south. Thanks.
I think we would all agree that that was very delightful, so thank you, Rob. Some of the phrases that I pulled out, well, I love the dreamscape. I don't know who you are. Anyways, I love the dreamscape of your poetry. I love the line, she did not know that each moon had a name. That image of Joan of Arc burning up into fable and legend. That line, apathy matters. Since I had no friends, I watched the stars, and I really love your use of the individual word, the evocative power of each word in that list. So thank you. Okay, so now we're passing to Christine McNair. She is the author of Charm, which is winner of the 2018 Archibald Lampman Award. Congratulations. And Conflict, which was finalist for the City of Ottawa Book Award, the Archibald Lampman Lampman Award and the ReLit Award for Poetry. Her chapbook Pleasantries and Other Misdemeanours was shortlisted for the bpNichol Chapbook Award. Her work has appeared in sundry, not the town, sundry literary journals and anthologies. Toxemia is a poetic memoir and her first work of hybrid nonfiction. McNair lives in Ottawa with somebody, I think, that might be in the room. And she works as a book doctor. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you to the bookstore for hosting, and thank you to everyone for coming. So I'm going to read, this is my first time reading in Calgary in a very long time, so I'm excited about that, and I'm happy to have family as well as friends here. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm going to read from Toxemia. Toxemia, just to give some people the heads up of what that is. Toxemia is the old word for what is now called preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is essentially a disorder of pregnancy that can happen during pregnancy or up to 6 weeks after giving birth when your blood pressure goes extremely high. And if it's not controlled, it can lead to things like organ death or stroke and seizures, and can be fatal for either the mother or the baby, especially the mother if it's postpartum. I had it twice, both times postpartum after my 2 girls. And then subsequently in 2019, I found out that I had a heart condition, which is kind of like chicken and egg with the whole preeclampsia thing. But this book, so then, is me looking at those things. It's looking at those things, looking at some of there was a lot of questions of mortality around the time they found the heart stuff. And kind of investigating that and looking at that, as well as my own history with my body and some of the more toxic things that have happened to me and been of me throughout my life. So just giving you context for that before I start reading. And it is very hybrid, so some of it is very straight nonfiction and some of it is lovely and poetry weird. So. And a lot of the titles are in French because I gave birth in a francophone hospital. So. Presque vu. I clench my teeth. I breathe in past panic. I must maintain good face. I must be reasonable. The doctor must find me clear. I must research enough to ask good questions, but not too many. At least there are visible growths on the heart, nodules, clots, vegetations. Depends which doctor you ask as to preferred terminology. Non-bacterial endocarditis means no fever, means an underlying reason. Lupus, metastasized cancer, blood clotting issue, thrombophilia. My body loves clots. Thrombo, the clotting of blood. Philia, love. My body loves clots. I am thrombophilic. I hope I am thrombophilic, and the blood thinners will fix it. I heart clots. Read, prognosis poor, due to underlying cause. Read, rare, typically found post-mortem. Déjà vu. Between pregnancies, I went for an assessment because I was unwell and I suspected it was postpartum depression. I have a significant history of depression. They always want the ticker tape past history, DSM, BDI, MOD, PS, BOD, MOD, IOP, and CBT, and PSY, and MDT, PSY, PTTSD, and BCTCSD. I hate telling it. I can see in their faces how long it is. I can see in their faces the hard math. This particular psychologist stops listening once I mention a history of self-harm. She does not refer me to help for my postpartum depression. She suggests I seek out psychological therapy aimed at people with borderline personality disorder. She does not refer to my lack of sleep, 2 to 4 hours per night, the hormones, my uncontrolled endocrine disorder, which can cause depression, the lactation problems, or my PTSD after the difficult postpartum preeclampsia. She does not recommend perinatal mental health support services. She is unaware of peer groups for postpartum mental health. She does not acknowledge that self-harm can occur for reasons other than borderline personality disorder. She does not look me in the eye. She stands me up on the second consult. She forgets my appointment. I wait in the empty waiting room with no music. I need to nurse. I leaf through chatelaines. I tiptoe to reception to an open window to ask what, why, where. I call to say I won't ever be coming back. I go to my family doctor and ask to be put back on my antidepressants, even though they're a Class C drug. Unknown, unknown, unknown. And I'm still nursing. She weighs the risks, benefits, agrees. I improve markedly after just a few weeks back on my medication. I do not self-harm. The baby is fine, even though she drinks my milk. When my leg was caught in the escalator, it was a ripping and then a heat. I held my mother's hand, an escalator full of people of family floating and scream, the aggravation of heat-burnt leg in hosiery section, legs kicked to the gods, floating nylon mocking me, store manager kind smiles, want to bite him. I remember something, but also nothing of the pain. I want to feel it. There's almost no sensation over the scar tissue, though as my leg grew, the scar shrunk. As a child, it looked to me like Peru, a mapped-out wrinkled tissue that felt nothing. Other scars mark but do not equate in tissue damage. Mistakes flourish upon me. The worst of it is a pattern legible only to me. It will die with me. My outline will be milk white. I have such little patience for perfection. I want the books I make to wear their flaws. Did you know that the smell of old books is primarily decay? Did you know that there are machines that understand the nature of that decay, that smell the air? Do you ever wonder what you smell like? That's a different question. Okay. Loop. Mindfulness is vital. Mindfulness is crucial. I breathe through. I rage on the top of the breath and under of breath that latchkeys me to the moment that keeps me sane but is also suffocating. During the lockdowns, we birth with the kids in our house, fucking privileged to stay home except for my medical appointments. We muddle along. All my weird dreams pre-pandemic of my colonizer mothers in the belly of ships, weeks into a voyage, all death and disease. I breathe and it's like I'm suffocating. It roots me, but it also feels as though I'm being digested, and the breath anesthetizes me to the experience. It calms, but also feels horrible. Will I still want to do it when we are let free? Will it still be here? Will the breath be here? I use it in MRIs, counting breaths in a box. Breathe, hold, exhale, hold, inhale, on and on and on and on. And imagine golden light coming up from my toes and into my belly. In a tube coffin cake, I breathe in the belly of a whale to anchor gold. It doesn't always work. The drugs help. I stick my hands in dirt and will up seeds, Totoro, and an umbrella. My children root to stories with dead mothers and sick mothers, any orphan. They grip my arm. When visiting my father and his wife, they go to the farmer's market to buy corn while I'm in hospital. They sob when the produce is put in the trunk. They want to hold it like May and Totoro. They want to carry me secret love messages carved into corn. They want to imagine a cat bus and don't understand why it doesn't come. I read an article once that described the Miyazaki films as death narratives. So where we see kind stories, many of them actually follow Japanese myth stories of death and the afterlife, a happy end confected out of whimsy to calm the death fear. When I'm home recovering from meningitis, Totoro is our comfort film. We watch it over and over. My youngest needs my arm. My eldest does somersaults on the carpet. We float in the in-between place. I'm so tired. Nesting doll. I've been told that my memories are not my own. I thought that putting shoes out for St. Nicholas was a family tradition from my mother's Eastern European family. My mother says it came from a book I read as a child, and they just went along with it in addition to the ritual of stockings. My mother's family may have followed the tradition in Poland, but never here. I introduced a ghost memory to the fold. My aunt was irritated by a story of my great-aunt after she died, that there had been a lover that no one knew about. The story was birthed by a friend at the wake. I'm not irritated by it, and I try to parse why. I try to say, without the stories, there's barely anything left of a person. Even if the stories aren't entirely right, they breathe a bit of life into the flat images. Our memories are not our own. Your memories are not complete. Stories may not align, but she's not quite dead if she's remembered. When I look at pictures of my daughters as babies, toddlers, preschoolers, I wonder what they'll remember of this other than what they're told. I wonder what they'll make of themselves all bundled in woven wraps and ring slings, if they'll understand the quiet hope and love of those things which kept me sane in their early babydom. Now that I've had a bit more sleep, I want to reach back into the photos and bring the small ones close to me. I want to rekind my babies. I want to rewind. I put my hand out and a small hand grasps my baby finger. I kiss the tips of their toes. I love them. I love them. I love them. I miss the babies in the photos, and I love the wild things tumbling in front of me, and I want to be a good mother, and I try to be patient and kind and listen. A snapdragon of a mood rears up sometimes, and I'm too sharp with my words. I try to unknot and apologize as needed. I wonder if I die now what they'll remember of me and whether those memories will be honest. I'd want them to remember the good and the bad. I'd want them to remember that I was human and I loved them so much, and I thought they were wonderful, and I'd not want to burden them with excess, just love and strength. Strength is relative. I know my memory of my grandparents is contaminated by the memories of others and the stories I've heard. A sliver of something like a person, though, is still something of a person. I post pictures of family life on Instagram and Facebook, though I know it irritates. I irritate the writers with my banality. I irritate the conservators with my poetics. I am too emotional. I am too domesticated. No part of my whole is pleasing. I want some form of glow record for the kids. I want a touch tone of me for time and good when I go dark. Imperatif. I hate being pregnant. Do not get pregnant. Constant nausea plus thick swell, the belly burns the bones, sciatica, back pain, nausea, heartburn, insomnia, carpal tunnel symptoms, vomit at work in my garbage bin, vomit in my cubicle, vomit in the back hallway bathroom, vomit in every bathroom. There was no escape from the vomit, ever. Déjà vécu. Lone dark, magnesium sulfate stems the tide, keeps nerve flicks at bay. The nurse is at the station. She sits watching me all night in the dark. The baby is not here. The baby is not here. The baby is at home. My milk comes in, hurts. They have to help me use the pump. Head breaks. I can hear babies wailing from the ceiling in the middle of the night and am disoriented. Soft cries and half cries. Where's my baby? The baby's not here, remember? The baby's at home. The nurse shakes me out of a gasp, asks me if I'm okay. Critical thinning of her eyes. Bad dream. It's only after my second birth, when I'm readmitted into that same room for postpartum preeclampsia, again, that I notice the vent in the ceiling. All the sounds of the ward, the laboring women, the babies and their machines titrate down over the bed. I get into the bed. I grip the rails. Imparfait. I sit in the dark and I wait. I sit in the dark and the children are sleeping, 2-year-olds curled up shell-shaped on my hip, newborn in her sidecard crib, sleep twitchy and precious. I've called my mother. It's 4 a.m. I wait in the dark because I worry I'm dying and I don't want to wake my husband yet. Will do so closer to my mother's arrival. I don't want to die between my children. The BPs are up and my feet twitch and my brain lit up and hard electric, the same as before, the pain in the side. The brain lit up and electric and a pressing sense of doom and a headache in the bones that goes on and on and on and on and on and on and won't stop. And the numbers on the clocks double themselves up and dance around and the brain lights up and my legs twitch and the aura I remember from before, from so long before, from the seizures as a kid and the seizures when I was bulimic and the seizure when playing the fainting game, the sense of cliff. Brain is all lit up with pain and worry. I'm dying and I don't want to seize between my children and there's nothing but waiting in the dark and it all takes too long and I'm waiting. And I sit in the dark and I wait. I sit in the dark and the children are sleeping, 5-year-old curled up, shell-shaped on my hip, 3-year-olds in her sidecard crib, sleep twitchy and precious. I've not called anyone. It's 1 a.m. I wait in the dark because I worry I'm dying and my husband isn't here and he's taking care of my father-in-law at the farm and I don't want to die between my children. The BPs are up and my face tingles. A pressing sense of doom that goes on and on and on and on and on and on. It won't stop, and the numbers on the clock double themselves up and dance around, and the brain is dark. The sense of cliff. Brain processes weakness and tingling, and I worry, I'm dying, and I don't want to die between my children, and there's nothing but waiting in the dark, and it all takes too long, and I'm waiting. And I turn on my side, and I turn on a meditation app, pour lavender oil on my throat. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Get up, get up, get up. Get up, 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 up. Look. I can't always be pulling the caul off your eyes, there's too much membrane to it. Depression in the ancient world was cured with bloodletting, baths, exercise, diet. Depression in the start of the Common Era is cured with starvation, beatings, exercise, diet. Depression in the medieval period is cured with exorcisms, prayers, beatings, fire. That member's caul still stuck in the eyelids. Just finish up, maybe, I think. Consequence. Plein de bonne volonté, at best we make do, as we wander up hillsides, shuck red, pull my ditches. I suppose I was a something somewhere. I suppose I press my lips to cardamom. I suppose I love disparate, ridiculous. I am entirely unopposed and ditch-walking, shouldering a collapsible sink of crocodile tears, my intent less latent than descent, a false place between knuckles. I just mean to say that I suppose we are something. Red-lipped, I stole a peach once and stood there eating it. I remember qualities of hollow in a tree and how I fed it leaves. I remember my particular forms of concrete and mass. I remember those treatments to reduce inflammation. I remember a year spent grass-bed with grubs underneath. I remember the horse stirrup flanks that put hooves on paths. What I mean is, what I said was, that I know I meant it at the time. When pen lifts where feet drop, dust to ash and peach to peach, perverse results aside, I am not sorry. Butterflies batten down the hatches and keep time. I bite my fingers for the salt. I walk my road. My intent was never. So, thanks.
Thank you for that personal and very searing recounting of that journey and for taking us with you. Some of the lines I wrote down is, as my leg grew, the scar shrunk. The smell of old books is primarily decay. The breath anesthetizes me. I breathe in the belly of a whale. We float in the in-between place. I stole a peach once and stood and ate it, so thank you very much. We're going to take a break now, so there's refreshments off to my left. Suggested donation is $5, please. And I'd just like to pick this up because I'm not sure if everyone had a chance to see it. This is the cover of As Feathers Fall, and Irene Neistat, who is one of the Magpie poets, painted this. This is her original artwork. So I want to thank you, Irene. Thank you, Mary, for bringing it in for us. And so after the break, well, let's say about 15 minutes for the break, 15 to 20, we'll reassemble and we'll have the Magpies reading. Thank you.
How are you? Oh, you look so good, dear. Oh, really? As soon as you get there,
reconvene. If you could find your places, please. Okay. I think that makes it, yeah, that's good. Do the same thing here, so that whenever, if somebody's standing, you move the chair over a bit,
Okay,
and then move yours over a bit too.
so if I'm standing here.
We don't want somebody directly behind the mic.
Right. There we go.
Okay.
Good. Gee, mackerel, I hope I don't fall off the chair.
Moving the sign that says single onion 216 and putting the contour there, because I think folks in the back might not see it. Yeah, and I'll get my water bottle.
So, when do I get that sheet?
And where should we get it? Up there with the water bottle?
Or was just switch.
Yeah, they make those squeaky sounds.
Is that interfering in you guys? Where the
I think
painting?
so, because I think we're tall enough. Yeah,
We're all tall enough.
yeah.
And it's nicer to have it higher up.
Just step right back in there.
Okay.
Some of these, oh, perfect.
Excuse me, ladies.
I feel like I'm at a talk show now.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
it is.
Megan.
It is, so.
Do you think that was funny? Was it that mic? Should I try again? Because there's a lot of people. Okay. Checking. 2, 2, 3. If you would please take your seat, and we're going to get ready to start the second half of the evening. Okay, so to introduce the magpies, I'm going to ask Mary to come up to the microphone, and she's going to explain a little bit on the process and procedure for the rest of tonight's performance.
Welcome, Section 2. Thank you very much to Shelf Life and Single Onion for hosting us. It's an honor to be here tonight with the other presenters. Really appreciate it. My name is Mary Vluswick. I'm a Calgary poet. I'm a musician. I'm studying art with Irene. The Magpie, Haiku, and Teika poets were originally formed in 2001 by Joanne Morecombe and Bruce Ross. They're two giants in the field of haiku. The group no longer has any of the original members, but I had the pleasure of working virtually with Bruce through Autumn Moon Haiku Journal. And Joanne is a local poet who continues to write award-winning poetry. I'm happy to call her my friend. This iteration of the group has many of us who have been together for almost 10 years. Unfortunately, two of our members couldn't join us tonight, Pamela Medland and Elizabeth Gibbs. Following publication of our anthology, A Pebble in My Shoe, in 2018, a few of us attended Haiku Canada's annual conference in Vancouver. At that conference, we were inspired by Rachel Enomoto's Women Echoing Women. That was a presentation of ancient women poets read by 5 contemporary poets, including Josephine. The poems were read and then they were translated by each of the 5 presenters in their own native language. It was very powerful and moving, and so we decided to do something similar. We don't have different languages, but we were inspired by the ancient female poets. There's very little difference between haiku by women poets, whether they're from Japan, Canada, anywhere. For example, here's a haiku by Jessica Tremblay from British Columbia. Diet. This month, only 28 days. And Nokubu Kasura from Japan. On the scale, my bathed and steaming body this night of snow. So So probably something we can all relate to, struggling with our weight. Haiku, according to Naomi Beth Watkins, demands the poet capture a moment even as the moment disappears into the past. When it comes to tanka, the rules are less clear. Tanka is the longest continually written form of poetry, and that's perhaps because it captures the bittersweetness of life. Often haiku are read twice. Tonight we will be reading the poems once in order that we can share more of our poems with you in our allotted time. A couple of final thoughts before we get to the poetry. This project, this great book, was resurrected from floundering in the fallout of COVID. Many of us had moved on to new projects and stages of our careers. I would like to acknowledge, and she's not here tonight, but Sherry Wasdell of Orange Ambition for her help with the layout of the book. This was my first editing project, and without Sherry, it wouldn't have been possible. She is the magic behind the scene that made this book a reality. I'd also like to acknowledge Mammy Ishan Humphreys. She's a local artist, and she created the feather calligraphy that we used in the book. And we're very honored to have had her agree to do that for us. Okay, and last but not least, I would like to again acknowledge Dr. Irene Naysted. She's Professor Emerita from Mount Royal University. She's a very talented multimodal artist. Painted this painting that became our cover, and please join me in welcoming her tonight.
Yeah, I noticed a typo in the book. Way to go. Okay, I get my own. The power. Yes, I am actually a professor emeritus, which is female for emerita. We don't see too many tusses around because of the gender inequity in our culture. A little point there. My career in publishing was in educational textbooks, teacher resources, and research papers, and I became a professor emeritus 10 years ago, and then I met Joanne Morecambe, and she was the original founder of and leader of the Magpies Poetry Group, and she invited me to join the group. And it was thanks to Joanne that I learned how to write a different way rather than textbooks. So it's been a wonderful journey in the world of writing poetry. So, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm June Reed, and I slipped into this organization rather cagily. Irene said, "Why don't you come? We are having a poetry reading with haiku people." And as it turned out, I happened to know one of the people in the group, Pat Benedict. Do any of you know that name? A massively talented lady. So I had been doing ikebana, which, as many of you will know, is floral design. And I have a lot of eclectic interests, and I write when I travel. And this suited me just fine because I thought I could take some of my impressions and things that I get a chance to see and do while I'm traveling, but learning how to parse it down into some poetry. So that's how Irene, because she invited me to come, I got a chance to become part of this group. And Megan.
How's the cord?
Megan, you can come up to the mic if you'd like.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm here.
Okay.
I came to Magpies in 2015 when I was at a really low point in my life. I suffer chronic depression, and I thought I need something that will help me focus on something more positive. And I cast about what would be possible for me for a writing group, and I stumbled on haiku, which brought me fond memories of reading and writing haiku in my high school. I learned very quickly that high school haiku is nothing like the real haiku, and so there was a lot of learning to do because these poems are deceptively simple. And what charmed me and what really wound up helping me with the depression was it would focus me down to one moment, just like forgotten her name. This is terrible. Naomi Beth Watkin would say about, capturing the moment even as it's sliding away. And ever since, I've been writing poetry since then. I've met terrific ladies in the group, and when we lost some of our founding members as they moved on to new things, I was really grateful that we had still a small group where we could continue to write.
I joined the Magpies many, many years ago. I was at I think it was a WordFest event. I don't remember exactly, but it was in the library downtown on the C-Train Street. That's no longer a library. I think it's part of the college now. And then I wasn't able to join. I wasn't able to attend for quite a long time, but I'm very, very glad to be back. I'm very, very glad to be part of this collaboration and bringing this production forward. I'm also involved in Haiku Canada, and we've been talking about making more haiku opportunities within the city. So last August, I think it was, in When Words Collide, we did a workshop on haiku and tanka, Joanne Morecambe and myself, and we're talking about offering some classes through the Alexandra Writer Center Society, AWCS, next fall. I'm going to pass it to Mary, but first I'm going to get my scarf. I was going to change quickly, just put on my magpie colors.
You're going to become a magpie.
Okay, we're very fluid tonight. We're not following any pattern that we had discussed. So, here I am. I'm going to introduce you to the poet that I had chosen. The format for this book was there were 7 of us in the group at the time, and we each chose a Japanese poet. 5 of them are ancient, 2 of them are more contemporary. I chose a poet named Ono no Komachi. She lived from 833 to 857. There's very little known about her life. There's actually 4 if you start looking through history, and we think they're all the same, but we don't know. So the poem that she wrote that I offered the group, it inspired me, and I hope that it would inspire them, was, "No way to see him on this moonless night. I lie awake, longing, burning, breasts racing fire, heart in flame." So, Megan.
Okay. Mountain rim, bathed in moonlight, soft as my lover's touch.
And continuing on Ono no Komachi's poem, I wrote tanka. This blindfold night, muffled steps on fallen leaves, we follow the path of unseen deer.
What page was that? 13. Sorry. See, we're so organized here. And from one of our missing members, Pam Medland, I claim the death watch, widow's last right and duty. Your shroud deceives me, lifting shadowless in the wind, light breath on a moonless night. Wrong boots.
One more thing about the book. As we're going, okay. We did haiku, tanka, and then what we're calling a sequence poem, which one of the poets would use the line to launch her poem, and her partner would then respond. And so throughout the book, there are varying lengths, and the first one is again in response to Ono Komachi's line, and it was Megan and June who wrote this sequence poem.
Okay, wait a second.
Page 16.
Back to 16.
Okay, I'm sorry, we got...
I'm looking at something entirely
Okay, here we
different.
go.
To the microphone, please.
Oh,
Go for it, my lady.
okay. The white peony has lost her beauty on this moonless night. As I drift through the garden, aging hands cup the blooms.
Peony blossoms drift, each petal counted breeze. Setting on my arm a blue-veined butterfly, I too lost my place.
Tender petals tumbled by a breeze. How delicate is life. Blue-veined butterfly begins her migration.
Blue wing seeks blue. Tender leaf unfurls. Drinking dawn's nectar, alchemy's lure of change rises again.
The poet that I chose, her name is Izumi Shikibu, and she wrote over 1,000 years ago. The dates that we have for her in the Heian period of Japan are 794 to 1185, and the verse of hers that I chose is, "The way I must enter leads through darkness to darkness, a moon above the mountain's rim. Please shine a little further on my path." And so the line that I propose to the group to write on is "Moon above mountain's rim."
Ancient stories rise from the ashes. Shadows dance to the beat of her drum. Moon on mountain rim. Liz Gibbs, the poet.
Ululations echo through the valley, then silence. Wapiti listens, waits, a soundless silhouette.
Soft beach blanket, the pearl between her breasts. Moon on mountain rim.
Dawn, a scorched orange daisy. His touch disappears with the moon.
Megan and I?
Okay, we're reading for Pamela and Liz, who aren't here tonight. Moon on a mountain rim, sure-footed goat guzzles the Milky Way.
Great bear in midnight sky dips into long lost cave.
Pale orb slips into salt green sky, sails the midnight sun.
Shadows whisper tales that once were told.
Are we on to
Page 19.
I'd like to introduce Iowa Know Him.
Mary, or sorry, Irene, the microphone,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
That's okay.
What about that? Iowa Know Him was princess, poet, and empress consort to Emperor Ningku in the late 3rd century. Princess Iowa's poems speak the universal language of heartache. Although a member of the royal family, she still experienced the pain of unrequited love. Her poem we chose was as follows. As the morning mist trails over the ears of rice, in the autumn field, I know not when or where my love will clear away. So we focused on the words, my love will clear away. Flowers wilt on your grave, will my love fade away? And that was by Liz. And after first frost, my love, carmine, saffron, and carnelian replace with dusty browns.
Vying for your touch, our spirits' chords entwined, vows, rings, a toast.
Moonlight in water. In the distance, he leaves a ripple.
And for the sequence poem, I will be reading what Liz wrote, and Irene will be reading her pieces. Dusty suitcase, black and white photos. Will my love fade away?
Black and white photo, all smiles. What changed?
Ancestors on the wall, dusting their faces. I see only smiles.
Sunday best, stiff poses, tall and center patriarch.
All smiles, then rain-soaked confetti. No one catches the bouquet.
Ceremony closure, confetti cleanup, colors run.
Table manners, her discerning eye. My fork runs away with a spoon.
I was captured by the poetry of Princess Shikishi, 1149 to 1201. She has, despite being seriously ill, she wrote 75 poems that were accepted for the 8th Imperial Anthology, which is a very big deal at that day. And today, 399 poems of hers remain. And what she wrote: the crowing of the rooster at dawn pierces me to the heart. Here on my pillow, heavy with thoughts of the long night's sleep, looking afar in the stillness of each dawn, I am filled with sadness that the world has not awoken. And what spoke to me was the line, "In the stillness of each dawn." I did write a poem using that line, but I decided to choose something else for the anthology. So we're talking about, of course, In the Stillness of Each Dawn. Quiet autumn morning, draped by moist fog, Mom's shawl around me.
And the sequence poem we worked on, In the Stillness of Each Dawn. Oh, sorry. I missed it. Yeah, I missed one. At dawn, shadows dance across my bedroom walls. A visit or a dream?
Canola fields, in the stillness of the dawn, iridescence. Bus weaves through the countryside. I bite my crisp, sweet apple.
Crow's eyes pierce morning mist. Only a breath between us.
Okay, ladies.
Okay.
All right.
Now the sequence poem
Go ahead, Eileen.
with myself and Pamela, and Megan's going to read for her. In the stillness of each dawn, I hear you whisper, "Are you lonely?"
My suitcase empty. Each train whistles an exit, too long delayed.
Loaded baggage, leaving encumbered, need to declutter.
I travel between two lines that never meet, a solo twinning.
Quick stop, grain train whistles, heading west. Please take me anywhere but here.
I found a future sewn in the lining of yesterday's red sunrise.
The next sequence poem was written by myself and Mary. Tranquil sleep ignores dawn. His eyelids flutter. I watch the rising sun caress his cheek.
His breath alive on my body whispers, spend more time in your dreams.
In sleep, his fingers tighten around mine, reluctant to let go.
I am a huntress, Artemis, bow in hand. Blonde hair and blue eyes pull me back, draw me home.
I cross the landscape of his dreams, rise into liquid night, take my place among the stars.
So the poet I chose was Mitsuhashi Takajo. And she was born in near Narita in Chiba in 1899. And she passed away in April 1972. And I was fortunate enough to see the statue that had been created for her in Narita when I was there on holiday in 2019. So the following poem speaks about her defiance of women's place in the world that she lived in. Climb this tree and you'll be a she-devil. Red leaves in the sunset glow. And I'm reading on behalf of Liz because her version was, veins bleed, seep into autumn, a maple red sunset.
I went a different way. Old crabapple, in the core, pink blossoms.
I also went another way, so the line chosen was red leaves in the sunset glow. A bite in the air, cheeks a flush, the autumn of our lives.
Mine is a tanka. Autumn dips outside the cottage. Inside, Merlot red. We forget cancer exists.
So we will now be reading a sequence poem that was put together by Liz and Pamela. I am pretending to be Liz.
I guess that means I'm Pam.
Okay. Aged hands embrace veranda conversation. Red leaves in sunset glow.
Leaves of memory rustle in the whispering pile. My thin skin flakes. Dust motes in a dry winter room.
Twiddling her thumbs back and forth. Age spots in motion.
Etched with living, I lift my face to the sun. A lace bouquet. On the other side of the window, a confused bee.
Okay. This is the poet that Irene chose, but I love this poet, so I get to introduce her. Her name is Chiyo Ni. She lived from 1703 to 1775. She was a student of Basho, but she doesn't have the same recognition as Basho, and I don't know why. She's the only woman poet of ancient Japan who has enjoyed continuous renown almost equal to Basho. But when you think of haiku, you often do not think Chiyo-ni. Her poem that inspired Irene was Green Leaves or Fallen Leaves, become one in the flowering snow.
On behalf of Liz, pallets of amber ride on autumn wings. A naked willow stands alone.
For Pam, oak in a garden we once knew, links earth and sky, reaches, remains.
Decomposition, cold, damp carpet, fetid earth nourishes, regenerates, spring growth.
Green leaves, fallen leaves, this season of transition. Chill winds loosen all that clings to my tree of memory.
What fills the trenches? Green leaves or fallen leaves? Ghosts with guns.
Scattered mulch fills the gutter. Last year's struggles.
And the sequence poem, mint green spring leaves chatter into summer, transform into warm colors, become fallen leaves.
Fallen leaves slumber for a season, the tilt of the earth Shadows shorten, light lengthens, trees swell into spring.
Winter shadows shorten, warm light lengthens, buds awaken, red robin returns, adds to her nest.
Blue as morning sky, 6 eggs nestle in a woven home. Twigs, bark, mud, grass, green leaves, fallen leaves.
When we were writing our different lines for the poems that we each picked, it was amazing how much this particular poem and line grabbed us all. And we were writing tanka and haiku, and eventually we were having to say, okay, we need to reduce all the repetition. But here's how it started. Akiko Baba, born in 1928, was an award-winning Japanese dramatist, poet, and literary critic. She became a real model of the modern woman poet in Japan, and she also applies more of a current twist in her poetry, so it's not necessarily sounding as traditional as some of the older poets. She wrote, "At my back, so many folds sway like heat haze. In autumn, all the spirits of my family are women." And what we all gravitated toward was, in autumn, all the spirits.
On behalf of Liz, morning fog rises, unveils glistening gems, warm crimson and amber. In autumn, all the spirits bedazzle my garden canvas. Are you doing it?
No, I'm not doing my reading for that today.
Spirits emerge, suspended in ether. They revel in the dance.
Do you want to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
In autumn, my flower spirit fades to dust.
Corn silk kisses. In autumn, all the spirits steal moonshine.
I looked at the spirits in a different way. Grandma's recipe, sticky among jams and jellies, bees on berries.
And our sequence poem. We gather round the bonfire, revel in the dance. In autumn, all the spirits rise from sacred earth.
Pungent roots, a forgotten chance. Lost song, my heart, wind in the grass.
A whoosh of wings, warmth brushes over my face. Owl overhead, blocks the moon and stars, obliterates time.
Earth's daughter revels in what is hidden. A hint of starlight.
Flashes, in this enchanted night, sparks, fireflies, fairies joining in the dance.
An oracle beneath hawthorn welcomes all. Upside down lives, a gift.
We awaken, damp with dew, renewed in spirit. Pine cones, a feather, 3 smooth stones. And I'd just like to say, as much as it was lovely to respond to the Japanese poets, I found these collaboration sequences were really, really satisfying to create.
Yeah, definitely would agree with you. Okay.
Okay, my lady.
So June and I wrote the following sequenced poem. In autumn, all the spirits draw near to us, beckoned to the feast, a place set for each, darkfall, then bonfires.
Lavender shadows rise. Goddess creates sage sheaf. A candle flame licks her lips, invokes sacred voice, gilds the birch bark altar.
May Day, earth throbs with burgeoning life. Jump the fires to cleanse, for marriage, fertility, Beltane's bountiful gifts.
Faces awash with dew, marriage knots of green,
chalices overflow with honey mead. Celebrating life, his seeds find her soil.
So our final poem for the evening is a sequence poem, and it's my pleasure to say that we've got June and Irene who will be reading it, and it was written by June and Liz. So June is reading her own, and Irene is reading on behalf of Liz.
In autumn all the spirits rise through cornfields, scarecrow wears new pants, shotgun echoes, where are you?
Stuffing and stitches on battlefield of corn, a murder of crows.
Rising from her bed, curtain rustles, coyotes yip warning, scent of tobacco, roping the mare, thieves.
He stills my heart in every dream. Past love calls out, remember me? Another thief in the night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Josephine wants a picture of
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That would be great.
Yes, indeed. Can we just stand in front of her? Okay.
Well, just see what's comfortable for Irene.
Are you all right?
Okay.
Got your book?
I got my book.
Okay.
Make sure
The right way up?
Right way up.
I can't quite see you there.
Is this better?
Beautiful. All right, 3, 2, 1, magpies.
Maggie!
There we go.
Thank you
Thank you
very,
so
very
much,
much,
Sarah.
Sarah.
Thank you for being a wonderful audience.
Yeah.
Again, our thanks to Shelf Life.
Good job, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you don't mind, if you could fold up your chair and lean it up against one of the bookshelves, that'll help in terms of cleaning up. And get home safely, please.
Yeah,
Thank
everyone's
you.
telling